A huge issue I had with Game of Thrones and how they kind of used the dragons in battles was something I loved the first time, but then when they did the exact same thing a second time, a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time, a sixth time, and then once again a seventh time, and I was like, oh, this is the only way they know how to use dragons. Everyone's surrounded by action, fighting, choreography, all the things, tension, building, 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 and then suddenly at the very last second, when everyone's about to die, out of nowhere, silently, might I add, out of nowhere, the dragon just rocks up and burns everyone to the ground, and everyone's like, whoa, thank God we've got that bloody dragon ex machina just flying up there. Whoo-hoo-hee. Oh boy, that dragon sure does have perfect dramatic timing, almost as if it was written by someone who was riding off the coattails of a fantastic writer, but I always thought that was D&D. I always kind of went, well, when someone else gets to do dragons and stories and action in a Game of Thrones universe, they wouldn't do that, because that's lazy and boring and dumb, and it makes every battle sequence pointless, and it makes you keep going, what do you mean they've been losing the Stepstones battles for 2 years? They have dragons. Just, like, why was anyone going into battle against any boats? Just take out the dragons. The dragons make everything so, like, it's so epic and amazing and glorious to, like, view, like, to look at the dragons doing the dragon stuff. It's just like, oh, yeah, baby. But on the story level and for characters, it just sucks up so much drama, and I just hate how silent they are. Like, I would love the idea of all the pirate crabby boys, they're all running out, and then we hear the dragon in the distance, and they all kind of go, oh, shit, and they get kind of stuck between running back into their holes or going to fight, and then that's where the chaos, and that's how they lose. But no, they're all just like, there, surrounding him, and then they stop, and they're like, oh, we could all totally gang up and just 10 stores at once, and he couldn't possibly stop us all. But they stop for the moment, for just that moment, for dramatic building of tension, fake tension building, dragon circling. But at least when Game of Thrones did it, Ramin Djawadi was just like, you want the greatest piece of music ever? Here you go. With this, was there even music playing? I don't remember. There was like one good moment with Damon and the music, and I'm like, oh, this is actually quite emotional and cool. But just generally speaking, I'm not kind of going out to listen to that piece of music again, whereas every single battle in Game of Thrones, even The Long Night, that song, The Night King, is spectacular. It's even better when you listen to it without the show, because you just imagine your own sequence of events playing. But yeah, this is just, I can't believe I'm saying this, but somehow it is simultaneously getting us the politics and the marriage and the family dynamics and politics of season 1, but then all the terrible, big scope, losing sight of actual, well-written scenes of season 8. It's good Thrones and bad Thrones all mixed together, but the worst thing of all, I just don't love any of the characters. And I know it's only episode 3, but they're already giving us big battles and I'm meant to care. The only character I care about was Mr. Crab Pirate Boy. But he died, and he didn't even speak! Deep breaths, it's not that bad. You're not having flashbacks to Game of Thrones Season 8. It's all good, Jax. Just deep breaths. Alright, let's talk about something that was good. The Crab King. Oh, wait, no, he was wasted and ruined. There was a hunt. It didn't totally make me wish we got that kind of hunt with Game of Thrones when Robert, a king I cared about, was doing the hunt. All disappointment aside, I enjoyed most of this episode. I found the start really breathtaking. It's when you can use dragons really well, where it comes in and it is that nuke, that bomb, that moment of just like horror and devastation. And the whole time that guy's almost gonna die. He's like, save me, Prince! And I'm like, haha, he's so gonna get burnt alive. But he gets squished by the dragon's foot. And I really like that, the idea that the dragon comes in and saves the day, but kind of not really, like how many people did he burn that was on his side, and all of that stuff, which I really, really enjoyed. That start is how I feel like you use dragons. There was also something I noticed where I was like, I remember the dragon being nice and thin, like a little elegant goose, but it's very thin, like just so thin. I'm like, just a thin dragon, just like a little spaghetti dragon. Like episode 2, the best part of this episode was the start and the end, but almost just because I found the Crab King pirate dude, Crab Boy, I liked Crab Boy's design. He's so like burnt and scaly or something. Like, is that a bit of grayscale? Is that just like some kind of weird crab thing? Is he half crab? I know he's not half crab, but I don't know. There was just so much intrigue and mystery with him. At the end of last episode, when we saw him, he's like looking and then it cuts. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for a next episode where they talk and they have a bit of a, a conversation of some type, or we get some kind of backstory, or we see where he's coming from, why he's doing this, all these things. Oh no, he's essentially just a glorified, he's not even a villain really. He's just a henchman. Not even that. I don't even know what he is. He's just there for just I don't know. He's just got so little character. It's like, what were you doing? Why did you make someone look so cool and make me care so much about him and then just withhold anything? And then we don't even, like, okay, if you're gonna not make him talk. But the idea of Damon walking into a cave and then he brings out half the guy's body. Well, you're not even going to give me a one-on-one fight with two characters that are, like, at least visually, like, one's got a personality and I enjoy his character, and one at least looks cool. I want to see a one-on-one sword fight. Like, I don't know, a big action battle set piece was cool, but, like, when they're all clashing their swords and everything, like, yeah, it looks beautiful and amazing, but I don't care about any of these characters yet. You haven't built up, like, there's something to be said about doing, like, 9 episodes, then episode 10, or I guess it's Thrones, so it would be episode 9, a big battle, like, make me care about these characters, do all this politicking and stuff, then get to this moment. And I guess this isn't really even meant to be a big battle, it's just the budget is so big now, they can do this in an early battle, but it really just kind of made me feel really, like, emotionless. Like, the only bit I really liked was when he's, like, surrendering, and you're like, ooh, okay, so is he surrendering because he wants to, like, team up with him? Because he's like, actually, my brother thinks he can save this battle, but we can team up, we can fight my brother. Or is it a trick? So I really, really like that moment where he puts the sword up and they grab it and you're like, oh, so it's not a trick. And then he's like, actually, it is a trick. And then he's doing a big run and dodging the arrows and all that stuff. Like, it looks beautiful. It's amazing. It's really cool. But as all this is happening, not for 1 second, not for a single moment, not a single Terry second did I go, I can't believe he could die right now. I'm just like, this looks sick. I love that this looks sick. Like, it's visually spectacular. Especially, like, watching Rings of Power, like, a couple of days ago, man, like, this looks spectacular. But that does look very clean and polished, whereas this is so dirty and gritty and grimy. And I love all these ships burning everywhere. Like, it is just so exciting to be there. But I think you take away a bit of the budget. Like, if you gave this a Game of Thrones Season 1 budget, I don't think this is very good at all. Like, I don't think it's satisfying. Like, he doesn't have a face-off with this guy. This guy doesn't talk. Like, I don't know. I think this is such a crazy missed opportunity. Like, I just feel like such wasted potential. And literally Game of Thrones Season 7 and 8, there are moments of gold and it looks really good, but wasted potential is, like, the key thing. Like, wasted potential. And to think that and feel that already in episode 3, oh, it's so disheartening. It's so heartbreaking. It's just like, oh, this universe, like, oh, it makes me feel so much, but, like, not in the good way. Like, it's so the time jumps are getting kind of out of hand. Like, are they just going to keep skipping that many years? Like, imagine if it kept getting bigger and bigger and next episode is 4 years later. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Between episode 1 and 2, I'm pretty sure it was about 6 months, which that already feels like an in-between seasons break, like a big break. And now this one's 2 years, like... In one hand, I like the idea where it's like the Stepstones battles have been going on for so long, and you get that idea that, like, okay, yeah, battles don't just happen over 25 minutes, which they do when you do a battle in one episode. You can't make it go for that long without kind of losing the tension and the building of, like, A to B to C to D to the end of the battle, you know, like beginning, middle, end, like a classical, you know, 3-act structure thingy. So I like the idea of making it feel really long and extended and spanning years. But just on a character level, it's like, oh no, my best friend's marrying my dad. Cut to 2 years later. They don't talk anymore. Okay, it just feels very like, alright, I'm finding it hard to grasp onto these characters when we're just jumping so far ahead. Like, already there's a baby and all this stuff. I do think I will get used to this. I think, like, if they just keep jumping like a year or two ahead each time, I will just kind of like, okay, that's just what we're doing here. I guess that's what happens when you're looking at a dot point historical book that George R. R. Martin wrote. You don't want to have to, like, you know, spend years writing and doing all these little bits. You're kind of picking the big moments. Like, he's born, then this happens, then this happens. You start the war, end the war. Don't have all these little mini skirmishes, because I guess who cares? So, I don't know. I understand it. It just feels a little jarring. I did know before the episode. Maybe it was in the trailer. Maybe I just saw someone, you know, on TikTok explain how it's like, well, 2-year jump next episode. And I'm like, wow, I'm kind of glad I knew that. Because when the baby rocks up, I should have been like, whoosh, whiplash, like, what do you mean the baby's born and is already a year old? That's madness. I don't know. I'm very mixed on it, but I understand why they're doing it. I can also kind of see how they could not do it. But I guess maybe they can't. I haven't read Fire and Blood. Maybe this is the only way to tell a story without doing 7 seasons. And I don't really want 7 seasons. I would love it to be like 3 or 4 seasons. Keep it tight. Don't get lost in, you know, all the things. But also maybe do, because I feel like it's rushing through stuff where it's like, Crab Boy, Prince, Stabby Stab Crab Man. he won't talk. Or maybe he did talk. I feel like he didn't talk. I feel like maybe one guy was talking to him and he just like grabbed him up or whatever. Such wasted potential. So we get some Lannisters this episode, and that was very exciting. Oh God, I love the Lannisters. And he seemed pretty cool. We didn't get that much. He just kind of wanted to marry Renee's Danny 2.0. He wants to marry her, and he's like, I could make a dragon keep for you, lady. And she's like, no. Okay. I feel like she's digging the sword man, whatever his name is, and they do a bit of they do a little of adventure in the woods, which was fine. Also kind of crazy to see like a boar and just be like, man, these boars, they love to go after royalty. They're just like, they smell royal blood and they're like, I'm coming for you. I need to kill that royal blood. Like they love that shit. That's like the big bads of Westerosi season 1's boar. Speaking of kings stabbing things or being stabbed by things, is there anything more pathetic than a king like rocking up and there's a stag? There's like 10 guys, like, they've already captured it and it's all just like there, ready for him to just kind of stab. Like, I don't know, like, I haven't been vibing him as a king I'd want to like follow. And this is like, I've just found it very pathetic and gross. Like, I don't know what I imagine, like him riding on a horse and then like the big javelin throw like he's the bloody Night King and he gets it in the neck, or something. Or kind of how, Renee's, I got to remember her name. I'm going to stop calling her Danny 2.0 after this episode. But when Danny 2.0 is stabbing the boar and it's like, oh, Jesus. There's a bit of that evil Targaryen juice flowing in it. Just a bit of a stabby. So I like that. Whereas when he did it, it's just like so pitiful. Like, it's just like, ugh. This king sucks. He sucks. Like, I don't know. It felt like such a Joffrey move. And and it wouldn't be an episode of House of the Targaryen Dragons, whatever it's called, without someone being like, you want to get some marriage juices going? My suggestion, a 2-year-old. Jeez, I thought last episode was gross and weird. This is just no. That's a little baby boy. I'm beginning to think this whole ancestral bloodline, it's kind of messed up. For a show that's so epic and grand and just, very kind of like otherworldly in a lot of ways. Like, I'm not of royal blood. I don't have dragons. I don't fight with a sword and do stabby stabs. Sometimes it's hard to relate to the characters if they don't kind of give them little moments and like human kind of things that you can grasp onto and be like, that's like me. I'm also a human and I do that. Whereas we actually got one this episode when Danny 2.0 is like, Bard, play that same song. And I'm like, dude, that's like me on YouTube. It's like goes to skip another song. I'm like, no, YouTube. No, Spotify. Just replay that same song. I'm going to be listening to this same song for like 2 hours. So overall, pretty disappointing to be honest. Like, I enjoyed most of it, but just the sour taste it left in my mouth, that reminder that, D&D aren't the only ones that don't know how to use dragons without being a dragon ex machina. It's highly disappointing. This show is literally called House of the Dragon. Like, we're not going to have 5 years of building up to, like, a couple of dragon moments. Episode 3, just big dragon moments all over the place. But how could you be losing for 2 years with dragons? They just clearly showed us in 2 scenes how damaging a dragon can be. Just continuously use the dragons. Do the dragons run out of fire? Do they get, like, 6 shots of fire and then they run out? Like, I don't know. I feel like I need a stupid magical explanation like that. Otherwise, it's just like, just keep using the dragons. Like, what are you doing? He must just be a terrible battle tactician, I suppose. Which I guess is cool. I like the idea he'd be terrible and the dragons are the only thing that are like winning him or getting him anywhere. But they don't really develop that or anything. They're just kind of like, we're losing this battle. And in the background, the dragon's just burning everything. And I'm like, how? How could you possibly be losing this battle? Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I would love to know what everyone thought of this episode. Does everyone agree with me? Or are you all like, no, I don't care. Big dragon's going dragon crazy. I love it. I love dragons.